sign it. I've revised the post-divorce settlement agreement as you requested. Rohan pushed a document forward, his eyes devoid of any emotion. Ria-Lin's hand holding the pen suddenly trembled, even though it was the second time she had experienced this scene. Her heart still felt as if it were being sliced open. No, that wasn't right. She should be happy instead. In that car accident 5 years later, she distinctly remembered being trapped in the twisted wreckage. Her 7-month-old baby delivered prematurely due to the violent impact. Yet when Rohan received the news, he merely responded coldly, "What does that have to do with me? We're already divorced." At that moment, she hated this man to the core. Now reborn, it was the very day of their divorce. A cold glint flashed in Ria-Lin's eyes as the pen tip traced a graceful arc on the paper. Without hesitation, she signed her name. "It's done. From now on, we are officially no longer married." Ria-Lin set down the pen, her voice eerily calm. Rohan seemed unprepared for her decisiveness, his brow furrowing slightly. "Are you really sure about this?" "Of course," Ria-Lin smiled. "I think we both know this marriage was a mistake from the very beginning." Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the early spring sunlight fell on Ria-Lin's face as she took a deep breath, savoring the long-lost sense of freedom. On this very day in her past life, she had cried uncontrollably, was picked up by her best friend, and drank herself into oblivion. But now, all she wanted was to hurry to the hospital to confirm one thing. "Ms. Lin, congratulations. The test results show you're 6 weeks pregnant," the doctor said, handing her the report with a professional smile. Ria-Lin tightened her grip on the report, countless thoughts flashing through her mind. In her past life, she had only discovered her pregnancy 3 months after the divorce. When she mustered the courage to approach Rohan, she was humiliated by him and his mother before being thrown out. "Doctor, I'd like to ask, is it safe to have an abortion now?" Ria-Lin asked softly. The doctor looked at her in surprise. "You just confirmed your pregnancy and already want an abortion. Have you thought it through?" Ria-Lin smiled bitterly. "I just got divorced and don't have the ability to raise a child alone. Then you could consider discussing it with the child's father." "Impossible," Ria-Lin cut off the doctor's words decisively. "This child, he will never know." Stepping out of the hospital, Ria-Lin stood by the roadside, gazing at the bustling street. She knew she had to make a decision. What would keeping this child mean? The lessons from her past life were still vivid in her mind. The Han family would never treat a bastard kindly, and she herself lacked the ability to protect this life adequately. Her phone suddenly rang. It was a call from her best friend. "Julie, Ria, where are you? Have you finished the divorce procedures? Let me pick you up." Ria-Lin took a deep breath. "Lily, I've made a decision. I'm leaving this city to start over completely." "What? Are you crazy? Your job, your friends, they're all here." "I have to go." Ria-Lin's voice was surprisingly calm. "I need you to keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone where I went, especially Rohan." Julie fell silent for a moment. "You're not in some kind of trouble, are you?" "It's not trouble, it's an opportunity." Ria-Lin gazed into the distance. An opportunity for rebirth. 3 days later, Ria-Lin had already packed all her belongings. She looked at the small apartment where she had lived for 2 years, feeling no attachment whatsoever. In her previous life, she had pinned all her hopes on marriage, only to lose everything. This time, she was determined not to make the same mistake again. The phone rang. It was Rohan's number. Ria-Lin stared at the screen for a few seconds before pressing the reject button. Then, she took out a train ticket she had already purchased, its destination a coastal city 2,000 kilometers away. There, no one knew Ria-Lin, and she could start a brand new life. "Sis, are you really leaving?" Du stood at the door of Ria-Lin's apartment, her face full of reluctance. "Getting divorced doesn't mean you have to leave this city." Ria-Lin looked at her seemingly concerned cousin and sneered inwardly. In her past life, it was Du who actively approached Rohan after her divorce and even married into the Han family less than 6 months after her death. "I need a completely new environment," Ria-Lin replied calmly. Continuing to pack her belongings, Du stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. "Does brother-in-law know you're leaving?" "Ex-husband," Ria-Lin corrected. "We're divorced now. He has no right to interfere with my decisions." A strange glint flashed in Du's eyes. "Then where are you going?" "Well," Ria-Lin smiled, "that's a secret for now." She knew exactly why Du had come. In her past life, this cousin had pretended to care about her while actually probing for information to report back to Rohan for brownie points. This time, she wouldn't give anyone the chance to use her again, after seeing Do You Off. Reolin took out her phone and deleted all her social media accounts, leaving only a new contact for Julie. As night fell, Reolin stood in front of the train station with her suitcase, her heart filled with unease yet determination. This departure meant a complete farewell to her past. Reolin. A familiar voice called out from behind, causing Reolin to freeze. She turned slowly to see Rohan standing not far away, his face dark with anger. "What are you doing here?" Reolin took a cautious step back, her guard up. Rohan strode forward. "Do you told me you're leaving? Are you out of your mind? Divorce is one thing, but why leave the city? What about your job? So do you had betrayed her?" Reolin cursed silently but maintained an eerily calm facade. "My affairs are none of your concern. We're no longer connected. What the hell are you playing at?" Rohan's voice was laced with anger. "I know I was the one who initiated the divorce. But I never intended to drive you away like this." Reolin sneered. "Stop pretending to care about me. The divorce was our mutual decision, and where I choose to live is my freedom." Rohan frowned. "You've been acting very strange lately, like a completely different person." Yes, she had changed. After experiencing that nightmare of a past life, how could she still be the weak, people-pleasing Reolin? "I've always been this way, you just never truly understood me," Reolin said calmly. Looking at him, "Now step aside, I need to go check in." Rohan reached out to grab her. "At least tell me where you're going." "Let go." Reolin forcefully shook off his hand, raising her voice. "We're already divorced. You have no right to ask about my whereabouts." Passengers nearby began to glance their way, and Rohan's expression darkened. Just then, the announcement sounded, declaring that Reolin's train was about to depart. "Goodbye, Rohan." Reolin turned away, dragging her luggage behind her. "I wish you and my cousin happiness." "What?" Rohan looked utterly bewildered. "What are you talking about?" Reolin didn't turn back, striding resolutely toward the ticket gate. Rohan's shouts echoed behind her, but she paid them no heed. On the train, Reolin leaned against the window, watching the city fade into the night. Gently touching her still flat abdomen, she whispered, "I'm sorry, little one. I can't keep you. This world is too dangerous, and I'm not strong enough yet." 2 days later, Reolin underwent an abortion at a private clinic, without any family or friends by her side. The first thing she did upon waking was wipe away her tears and book a flight to Haicheng. At the moment the plane took off, Reolin felt as if she had been reborn. The tragedy of her past life would not repeat itself. This time, she would take control of her own destiny. Would you like a drink?" The flight attendant's warm voice interrupted her thoughts. Reolin smiled and nodded. "Thank you, just a glass of warm water, please." Gazing at the sea of clouds outside the window, Reolin silently vowed in her heart, "From today onward, I am no longer Reolin. I am Reishu, a brand new beginning, a brand new self." The morning in Haicheng was brighter than Reolin had imagined. Sunlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains into the small, temporarily rented apartment. Reolin, now Reishu, took a deep breath, savoring the scent of a new beginning. "Starting today, I'll look for a job," she said as she adjusted her newly cut short hair in the mirror. The fresh look made her appear efficient and unfamiliar. Reishu arrived at the largest design company in Haicheng for an interview. Carrying a meticulously prepared portfolio, as a renowned interior designer in the country, her professional skills were beyond doubt, but she still needed to prove herself anew in this unfamiliar environment. "Ms. Shu, your work is outstanding, but would like to know more about your past work experience," said Mr. Zhao, the interviewer, handing her a glass of water with a kind smile. Reishu was well prepared. "I worked in the north for 5 years. But I wanted a change of environment for personal reasons. My previous company was relatively small, and I hope to develop on a more professional platform." Mr. Zhao nodded. "Do you have a recommendation letter or contact information from your previous employer?" "I'm sorry, but my relationship with my former employer didn't end on the best terms, so I didn't request a recommendation letter," Reishu replied with a smile. "But I believe my abilities can be proven through actual work." After the interview, Mr. Zhao personally escorted her to the elevator. "Miss Chen, to be honest, your resume is somewhat vague, but your talent is undeniable. I've decided to offer you a 1-month probation period." "Thank you, President Zhao, I won't let you down," Reishu said sincerely. A month later, Ria Shu successfully passed her probation period with outstanding performance. She rented a small apartment in Haicheng, rebuilt her social circle, and gradually got her life back on track. Apart from occasional nightmares, the shadows of her past life seemed to have faded away, left behind. Until that afternoon, the company received a new project, Ria Shu. This is a design project for a nationwide chain hotel, and the client is Star Group from Beicheng. Director Zhao handed her a document. This project is crucial, and you'll be in charge. Star Group, Roanhan's company. The documents in Ria Shu's hands trembled slightly. Director Zhao. May I know which department is specifically responsible for this? The hotel division, and the person in charge is. Director Zhao flipped through the file. Roanhan, the group's vice president. Ria Shu felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over her head. In her previous life, Roanhan had indeed ventured into the hotel business, but he had never collaborated with Haicheng. Could her presence have altered certain events? President Zhao. May I recommend designer Li to take charge of this project? I've been quite busy lately. President Zhao waved his hand dismissively. The client specifically requested you. They've seen your previous work and greatly admire your style. Ria Shu forced herself to remain composed. Then, do I need to go to Beicheng for a face-to-face meeting? No need. Director Zhao smiled. They'll send someone to Haicheng for an inspection next week, and you'll be in charge of the reception. Upon returning home, Ria Shu immediately called Ju Li. Lily, has Roanhan mentioned me at all? No, he seemed to accept your departure quite quickly. Ju Li hesitated for a moment, but he's been getting very close to your cousin lately. Just as expected, Ria Shu smiled bitterly. It seemed the plot from her past life was about to repeat itself. By the way, he's working on a hotel project recently and seems to be going south for an inspection. Ju Li mentioned casually. Ria Shu's heart raced. He's going personally, probably. He's the type who handles everything himself. Why? Nothing. Just asking. Ria Shu forced herself to stay calm. After hanging up the phone, Ria Shu began to think about her next move. Resign. Unrealistic. Decline the project. No valid reason. She had to face it. Perhaps Roanhan wouldn't recognize her. After all, she was no longer the meek Ria Lin of the past. Both her appearance and demeanor had undergone a dramatic transformation. A week later, Ria Shu stood at the conference room door, taking a deep breath, dressed in professional attire with meticulous makeup. Her gaze behind the glasses was calm yet sharp. The door opened, and Director Zhao beamed. Designer Chen, let me introduce you. This is President Han of Starry Sky Group. Standing beside President Zhao was none other than Roanhan, dressed in a sharp suit and as handsome as ever. When his gaze landed on Ria Shu, his pupils contracted slightly, and his expression froze. President Han, this is our company's chief designer, Ria Shu. President Zhao continued the introduction. Ria Shu extended her hand, her voice steady. President Han, it's our first meeting. I look forward to your guidance. Roanhan stared at her intently, as if confirming something. He mechanically extended his hand, his voice hoarse. Chen, designer, yes. Ria Shu smiled, her eyes unreadable, as if they were truly meeting for the first time. The moment their hands touched, Roanhan's fingers tightened slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Director Zhao. Let's discuss the details in the meeting room. Throughout the meeting, Roanhan's gaze hardly left Ria Shu. Meanwhile, Ria Shu remained composed and professional, thoroughly presenting the design proposal and answering various technical questions flawlessly. After the meeting, Roanhan took the initiative to ask, Designer Chen, could we have a word in private? Ria Shu's heart raced, but her expression remained calm. Of course, only Ria Shu and Roanhan remained in the meeting room. The air seemed to freeze, and time felt exceptionally long at that moment. Ria Lin. Roanhan broke the silence first, his voice low. Why did you change your name and hide here? Ria Shu's expression didn't change. Mr. Han, I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Ria Shu, not the Miss Lin you mentioned. Stop pretending. Roanhan stepped forward. Even with your short hair and glasses, I wouldn't mistake my own wife, ex-wife. Ria Shu corrected instinctively, then immediately realized she'd slipped up. A flicker of triumph flashed in Roanhan's eyes. So it really is you. Ria Shu took a deep breath and decided to drop the act. Yes, it's me, but that doesn't change anything. We're divorced and living separate lives. Why did you leave? Why did you hide it from everyone? Rohan's voice carried a hint of anger. Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Rieshu sneered. Looking for me? Why would you look for me? Wasn't it you who asked for a divorce? Yes, but I never expected you to just disappear like this. Rohan frowned. You even quit your job and cut off all contact. You said you were acting very strangely. I thought something had happened to you. Hearing Duyu's name, Rieshu felt a wave of nausea. In her past life, this cousin of hers was far from just acting strangely. She couldn't wait for Ria to die so she could take her place. I just want to start a new life and completely leave the past behind, Rieshu said calmly. Now I have a new name, a new job, and a new life. Please respect my choice. Rohan fell silent for a moment. Do you hate me that much? Enough to even change your name? It's not hate, it's irrelevance. Rieshu met his gaze directly. You and I have no connection anymore. Not even enough to warrant hatred. The words seemed to sting Rohan. He clenched his fists. I admit I was the one who proposed the divorce, but it was because our issues were irreconcilable. I thought you agreed too. Yes, I completely agree, Rieshu smiled. So now we're each doing well. How perfect. Rohan stared at her. You've really changed. You weren't like this before. Rieshu thought of her past life. When she was meek and eager to please the Han family, and felt a chill in her heart. People have to grow up, Mr. Han. Now, if there's nothing work-related, I'll take my leave. Wait, Rohan stopped her. We still have to collaborate on this project for a long time. Are you sure you can handle it? Of course. Rieshu smiled professionally. I'm very good at separating personal and professional matters. Stepping out of the meeting room, Rieshu realized her palms were drenched in cold sweat. She hadn't expected Rohan to see through her identity so quickly, but upon reflection, perhaps this was for the better. With their cards on the table, they could calmly handle their working relationship like two strangers. However, reality was far from that simple. In the days that followed, Rohan frequently visited Haicheng for inspections, each time insisting on private meetings with Rieshu to discuss plans. His gaze, words, and actions all probed for any possible cracks between them. Rieshu always maintained a professional attitude, never giving him any opportunity to get close, until that afternoon, when Rieshu suddenly felt dizzy in the office. Since the abortion surgery, she had often felt unwell, but never this severely. Designer Chen, what's wrong? You look terrible, her colleague Xiao Wang asked with concern. I'm a bit dizzy. Before Rieshu could finish her sentence, her vision went black, and she collapsed to the ground. When she opened her eyes again, she was lying in a hospital bed. A doctor in white was reviewing her test results. Doctor, what's wrong with me? Rieshu asked weakly. The doctor frowned. You have severe anemia, and there's a mild infection in your endometrium. You recently had an abortion, didn't you? Rieshu nodded. The hospital where the surgery was performed has questionable qualifications, the doctor said gravely. You must be hospitalized for observation for a few days and undergo comprehensive anti-inflammatory treatment. Otherwise, it could affect your future fertility. Rieshu's heart tightened. In her previous life, she had died from massive bleeding due to an unexpected premature birth. She never thought that even after choosing a safe method in this life, she would still face a health crisis. All right, the ward door suddenly burst open as Rohan rushed in, his face filled with anxiety. Rieshu, how are you? Rieshu and the doctor were both stunned. Rohan quickly walked to the bedside. The company said you fainted. What happened? The doctor glanced at the two of them and said considerately, I'll step out first. You two talk. Why are you here? Rieshu asked warily. Rohan sat by the bed. I happened to be in Haicheng. When I heard you were hospitalized, I rushed over. None of your concern. Rieshu said weakly but firmly, I'm fine. Rohan's gaze fell on the medical record, and he casually picked it up to glance at it. His expression immediately changed drastically. You had an abortion. Rieshu snatched the medical record back. This is my privacy. Was it my child? Rohan's voice trembled. Tell me, did you find out you were pregnant after the divorce, but chose to? None of your business. Rieshu interrupted him, her voice icy. Please leave. Rohan stood there, his eyes filled with indescribable emotions. Why didn't you tell me? No matter what, that was also my child. What makes you think it's yours? Rieshu sneered. Maybe it's from my new boyfriend. The words struck Rohan like a knife to the chest. His face turned ashen. You've really changed. Get out. Rieshu no longer had the strength to argue. I don't want to see you. Rohan froze for a moment before finally turning to leave, but at the door, he stopped. Whether you admit it or not, I will get to the bottom of this. If it really is my child, I won't let this go. After the door closed, Rieshu finally broke down in tears. Everything was far more complicated than she had imagined. Rohan's appearance had disrupted all her plans, and now, her health issues had become a new crisis. Just then, a young doctor walked in. Miss Chen, I'm Cheng Yang, in charge of your follow-up treatment. Don't worry, everything will be all right. Rieshu looked up and met a pair of gentle yet resolute eyes. Dr. Cheng, when can I be discharged? Rieshu sat on the hospital bed, watching Cheng Yang as he adjusted the 4-drip. At least 3 more days. Cheng Yang replied with a smile. Your infection is more severe than we initially thought, so you'll need more time for the inflammation to subside. Rieshu sighed. But I have work to attend to. Work is important, but health is even more crucial, Cheng Yang said earnestly. If left untreated, it could very likely lead to infertility. These words left Rieshu silent. In her previous life, she had failed to see her child one last time. Although she had made difficult choices in this life, it didn't mean she had to give up her right to have a family. All right, I'll follow the doctor's orders, Rieshu finally conceded. Cheng Yang nodded. That's the right attitude. By the way, was that gentleman who came yesterday your husband, ex-husband? Rieshu instinctively corrected. We're already divorced. Cheng Yang nodded understandingly. He came early this morning, and I had him wait outside. Should I tell him you don't want to see him? Rieshu looked at Cheng Yang in surprise. He's outside. How long has he been waiting? He's been here since 7 a.m., and it's almost noon now. Cheng Yang checked his watch. Rieshu hesitated for a moment before finally shaking her head. Let him in. We have things to clarify. When Rohan entered, he looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes. In his hand was a bouquet of white carnations, Rieshu's favorite flowers. How did you know I liked these? Rieshu couldn't help but ask. Rohan smiled bitterly. After all, we were married for 3 years. I still remember what you like. This sentence made Rieshu's heart ache. In her past life, Rohan had never remembered her preferences, and even her birthday had to be reminded for him to recall. Just say what you want directly, Rieshu said calmly. Rohan placed the flowers on the bedside table and sat on the chair by the hospital bed. I looked into the clinic where you had the surgery. It's an illegal clinic. Why didn't you go to a proper hospital? Rieshu sneered. Because proper hospitals require a husband's consent form, and I didn't want anyone to know about this. Including me. Rohan's voice was laced with hurt. Was that my child? Rieshu fell silent for a moment before finally nodding. Yes, you can hate me, but I don't regret my decision. Rohan's expression was complicated. Why didn't you tell me? No matter what, I had the right to know. The right to know. Rieshu gave a bitter smile. And then what? Have me beg your mother for permission to keep the child, endure the scorn and humiliation from your entire family? No way. Rohan said urgently. I'll take responsibility, just like you took responsibility for our marriage, Rieshu said sarcastically. Rohan, we're already divorced, living separate lives. I don't need your responsibility, nor your pity. Rohan remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. I know I've made many mistakes, but the divorce was our mutual decision, wasn't it? If you had told me you were pregnant, things would have been completely different. Rieshu recalled in her previous life when she told him about her pregnancy, his indifferent reaction and his mother's cutting words. The pain and humiliation from that time still felt fresh and unforgettable. Things won't be any different, Rieshu said calmly. You chose divorce, so you must bear all the consequences. Now, please leave. Between us, there's nothing to discuss except work. Rohan stood up, a flash of determination in his eyes. This isn't over yet, Lin. You think changing your name can completely sever ties with the past, but some responsibilities, you can't escape them, Rieshu responded coldly. Then let's see, President Han. After Rohan left, Rieshu leaned against the headboard, her heart a turmoil of mixed emotions. She hadn't expected Rohan to be so persistent. In their past life, he had been so heartless upon learning of her pregnancy. Why was he so relentless in this one? Lost in thought, Cheng Yang walked in carrying the medicine. The atmosphere was quite tense just now, Cheng Yang said while adjusting the 4-drip. Do you need me to keep him out in my capacity as a doctor? Rieshu smiled. Thank you, but that won't be necessary. He probably won't come back. Cheng Yang nodded. If you need anything, just press the call button anytime. Watching Cheng Yang's retreating figure, Rieshu suddenly realized that the young doctor's care gave her a long-lost sense of security. After recovering and being discharged from the hospital, Rieshu threw herself into work, doing her best to avoid direct contact with Rohan. However, the latter seemed determined to pester her, frequently coming to Haicheng under the pretext of inspecting project progress. One weekend a month later, Cheng Yang invited Rieshu out for coffee. What made you think of inviting me all of a sudden? Rieshu asked curiously. Cheng Yang smiled. I wanted to know how my patient is recovering, and... He hesitated before continuing, and I'd like to get to know you better. Outside of work, Rieshu looked at him in surprise. Dr. Cheng, are you? Yes, I'm pursuing you. Cheng Yang admitted frankly. If you think it's too sudden, I can take it slow. Rieshu didn't know how to respond. The shadow of the tragedy from her past life still lingered, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to start a new relationship. At that moment, the cafe door swung open, and Rohan walked in with a dark expression, heading straight to their table. So you've found someone new, Rohan sneered. No wonder you were so determined to cut ties with me. Are you following me? Rieshu stood up, fury burning in her eyes. Rohan sneered. I just happened to pass by, didn't expect to see such a scene. Cheng Yang stood up, positioning himself between Rieshu and Rohan. Sir, please calm down, we're just friends gathering, there's no need to get so worked up. Friends, Rohan mocked, eyeing Cheng Yang. Do you know she's a married woman, ex-wife? Rieshu raised her voice. We're already divorced, you have no right to interfere in my private life. The other customers in the cafe began to glance over, and a nervous waiter approached. Everyone, please keep your voices down, or we'll have to ask you to leave. Cheng Yang nodded reassuringly, then turned to Rohan. Sir, as you can see, Miss Chen has already dissolved her marital relationship with you. As an adult, she has the right to choose her own way of life. Please respect her decision. Rohan stared coldly at Cheng Yang. Do you know her real name is Lin? Do you know she was once pregnant with my child but chose to secretly have an abortion? Rohan, Rieshu trembled with anger. You've gone too far. Cheng Yang remained composed. Whatever choices she made in the past were her own freedom. Now, please leave, or we'll have no choice but to call the police. Rohan glanced at Rieshu, then at Cheng Yang, and finally snorted coldly. Fine, I'll go, but this matter isn't over. Lin, you can't escape. He turned and left, leaving behind an awkward silence in the cafe. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked you to meet me here. Cheng Yang said apologetically. Rieshu took a deep breath and forced a smile. It's not your fault. My ex-husband has always been like this. Controlling. Cheng Yang hesitated for a moment. Is what he said true? About the child? Rieshu fell silent for a while before finally nodding. Yes. That was a private matter between me and my ex-husband. I don't regret my decision. Cheng Yang gently placed his hand over hers. You don't owe me any explanations. Everyone has their own choices and reasons. This understanding brought a touch of warmth to Rieshu. In her previous life, she had never received such respect and support. After leaving the cafe, Cheng Yang insisted on seeing Rieshu home. Along the way, they talked about many things, from work to life. From the past to the future, Rieshu discovered that Cheng Yang was not only an excellent doctor but also an interesting and kind person. We're here, thank you for walking me back, Rieshu said with a smile at the entrance of her apartment building. Cheng Yang nodded. Today had its unpleasant moments, but I'm still very glad I got to spend this afternoon with you. Rieshu hesitated for a moment. About what you said earlier, pursuing me. I'm serious, Cheng Yang said frankly, but I won't put any pressure on you. You can take your time to think about it, or reject me. I'll respect your decision either way. Rieshu felt a flutter in her heart. This sense of being respected and understood was something she had never experienced with Rohan. Give me some time. Okay, Rieshu said softly. Cheng Yang nodded with a smile. Of course. As soon as Rieshu opened the door upon returning home, the phone rang. It was General Manager Zhao. Rieshu. There's been a change at Star Group. General Manager Zhao's voice sounded tense. President Han said they want to replace the project lead and no longer wish to continue working with you. Rieshu's heart tightened. Did he give any reason? They said your design style didn't meet their requirements. Director Zhao hesitated for a moment, But something feels off to me. Did something happen between you two? There were some personal, unpleasantries, Rieshu admitted. Director Zhao sighed. I thought so. But don't worry, the company won't hold you accountable. I'll reassign the team, and you can focus on other projects. Hanging up the phone, Rieshu felt a wave of relief. Yet an undercurrent of concern remained. Was Rohan really going to take serious action? On her second day at work, as Rieshu entered the company, she immediately sensed the unusual gazes from her colleagues. Xiao Wang hurried over. Sister Chen, have you seen what's online? What happened? A sense of foreboding rose in Rieshu's heart. Xiao Wang handed her the phone. Someone posted online claiming you used to be called Ria Lin, the ex-wife of a certain company executive, and you even had a miscarriage with his child. Rieshu shuddered and quickly took the phone to check. Sure enough, an anonymous post on a social media platform detailed her true identity and marital history, even mentioning her miscarriage, though no names were directly mentioned. Anyone familiar with the situation would immediately recognize who it was about. Don't worry, the company won't give you a hard time over something like this, Xiao Wang reassured. Rieshu tried to stay calm. Thank you. I'm fine, but deep down, she knew Rohan had already begun his retaliation. This was just the first step, and more trouble would follow. Back in her office, Rieshu closed the door and dialed Julie's number. Lily, it's me. Has Rohan been up to anything in North City recently? Julie paused for a moment. Ria, he got engaged to your cousin. Rieshu was stunned. When did this happen? Just the day before yesterday. It was very sudden. Even his mother was shocked. Julie hesitated, then added, but there are rumors that Du is already pregnant. A chill ran down Rieshu's spine. The plot from her past life was repeating itself, only much earlier this time. But now, she was no longer the helpless Ria Lin who could be trampled upon. Thank you for telling me, Rieshu said calmly. Keep an eye on his movements for me, will you? After hanging up, Rieshu took a deep breath. Rohan's revenge had only just begun, and she needed to be prepared. Right at that moment, a text from Cheng Yang came through. Heard you're in trouble. Need any help? Rieshu felt a warm surge in her heart as she read the brief message. In this unfamiliar city, while facing her ex-husband's relentless pressure, having someone willing to stand by her side felt incredibly precious. Thank you for your concern. I can handle it, Rieshu replied, hesitating for a moment before adding, are you free to have dinner together tonight? Cheng Yang's reply came swiftly. Of course, I'm always free whenever you need me. A faint smile curled at the corners of Rieshu's lips. Perhaps, the dawn of a new life had already begun to shine into her world. That's my whole story. In the private dining room, Rieshu looked at Cheng Yang before her and said softly. She had just spent 2 hours recounting her past to Cheng Yang in detail, from meeting and marrying Rohan to her determination to rebuild after the divorce. Even including that difficult decision to have an abortion, Cheng Yang listened quietly, his eyes showing not a trace of blame, only deep understanding. Thank you for trusting me enough to share this. Rieshu smiled bitterly. Now that you know the truth about me, are you still willing to continue? Of course. Cheng Yang replied without hesitation. Your past has shaped who you are today, but it doesn't determine your future. The woman I admire is the brave and strong one sitting in front of me right now. Rieshu's eyes grew slightly moist. You know, this is the first time in my life I've truly felt respected and understood. Cheng Yang reached out and held her hand. I'll always be by your side, no matter what Rohan tries to do. Just as they were speaking, Rieshu's phone rang. It was CEO Zhao. Rieshu, sorry to bother you, but there's an emergency. General Manager Zhao's voice was clearly tense. Stellar Group suddenly terminated all cooperation with us, citing personal issues of the designer affecting the company's image. Rieshu's heart sank. Mr. Zhao, I'm very sorry for causing trouble for the company. Don't say that, Mr. Zhao sighed. We all know this is retaliation against you. The problem is, Stella is a major client, and this withdrawal will have a significant impact on the company. I understand. Rieshu bit her lip. If necessary, I can resign. No, absolutely not. President Zhao said sternly. Our company will not abandon excellent employees just because of unreasonable demands from clients. I just wanted you to be aware of the situation and mentally prepared. There might be some gossip. After hanging up the phone, Rieshu explained the situation to Cheng Yang. That Rohan is truly despicable. Cheng Yang couldn't contain his anger. Can't he just leave you alone? Rieshu smiled bitterly. That's just how he is. Strong desire for control, never allowing anyone to defy his will. Cheng Yang pondered for a moment. Have you ever thought about direct confrontation? Like exposing his misdeeds? It's useless. Rieshu shook her head. The Han family has deep roots in North City. I'm just a nobody. I can't fight them. Then leave Haicheng. Cheng Yang suddenly suggested, I have a cousin who runs a design studio in S-City and is in need of experienced designers. If you're willing, I can introduce you. Rieshu looked at him in surprise. You mean, run away again? Cheng Yang shook his head. It's not running away, it's a strategic retreat. Sometimes, direct confrontation isn't the best choice. Rieshu fell into deep thought. She once believed that changing her name and moving far away would allow her to escape the past. But Rohan still found her. If she left again, would the outcome be the same? I need to think about it, Rieshu finally said. After leaving the restaurant, Cheng Yang insisted on seeing Rieshu home. At the foot of her apartment building, he suddenly said, whatever decision you make, I'll support you. If you decide to go to S-City, I could also consider transferring. Rieshu looked at him in surprise. You're willing to give up your job in Haicheng for me? Cheng Yang smiled. I started as a military doctor, so transferring isn't difficult for me. And, he took a deep breath, I want to be with you, Rieshu, or should I say, Lin. Rieshu's heart trembled. This was the first time she had heard someone express their feelings for her so resolutely. In her marriage with Rohan, she had never experienced this kind of unconditional support and love. Give me some time. Okay, Rieshu said softly. Cheng Yang nodded and gently kissed her forehead. I'll wait for you. As soon as Rieshu opened the door upon returning home, she heard the phone ringing. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, Lin, it's me. Do you? The familiar voice of her cousin came from the other end of the line. Rieshu's heart tightened. What's the matter? You chuckled lightly. Congratulations. You finally found someone new. That doctor seems nice. Much gentler than Rohan. Are you spying on me? Rieshu was furious. Don't get so worked up, you said casually. I just wanted to let you know that Rohan and I are getting married next week. As my cousin, would you like to attend? Rieshu sneered. Thanks for the invitation. But no thanks, your affairs have nothing to do with me. How could it not? Yu's voice suddenly turned shrill. Do you know why Rohan suddenly decided to marry me? Because he found out you already had a new man, and I just happened to be pregnant with his child. The words hit Rieshu like a hammer. Pregnancy again. In her past life, Yu had used the same trick to quickly marry into the Han family. Wishing you happiness, Rieshu said coldly. Hope you won't regret it. Oh, I won't, Yu said smugly. But you'd better be careful. Rohan holds grudges like no one else. He said he'd make sure you can't stay in Haicheng. After hanging up the phone, Rieshu sat on the sofa, her thoughts in turmoil. Rohan was going to marry Yu. This should have been good news, meaning he would stop harassing her. But Yu's warning left her deeply unsettled. The next day, as soon as Rieshu arrived at the office, she was summoned into Director Zhao's office. What's the matter, Director Zhao? Rieshu had a bad feeling about this. Mr. Zhao sighed. Rieshu. Someone has reported to the industrial and commercial authorities that our company employs staff with false identities. Clearly, this is targeting you. Rieshu's heart sank. My identity is legitimate. I just changed my name, I know. But you might need to provide some supporting documents, Mr. Zhao said with difficulty, and I'm afraid this is just the beginning. I heard that Stella Group has started contacting our other clients, hinting that working with us might pose risks. After a moment of silence, Rieshu made her decision. Mr. Zhao, I'd like to resign. What? No, Rieshu, we will protect you, General Manager Zhao said urgently. Rieshu smiled bitterly. I know. But I can't let the company suffer because of my personal matters. Besides, I've already received an offer from a studio in S-City. General Manager Zhao sighed deeply. If this is your decision, I respect it, but you can come back anytime. We'll keep your position for you. After leaving General Manager Zhao's office, Rieshu immediately sent a text message to Cheng Yang. I've decided to go to S-City. Is your offer still valid? Cheng Yang's reply came quickly, of course. I've also applied for a transfer. Let's start a new life together. At this moment, Rieshu finally felt true hope. Perhaps this was her real rebirth. The early summer in City S was much cooler than in Haicheng. Standing on the balcony of her new apartment, Rieshu took a deep breath of the fresh air and felt considerably lighter. In the first week after moving, Rieshu quickly adapted to her new environment and job, although the design studio run by Cheng Yang's cousin was small. Its clients were all high-end custom orders, giving her ample creative space. Meanwhile, Cheng Yang successfully transferred to the Central Hospital in City S, and their lives gradually settled into a steady rhythm. "What are you thinking about?" Cheng Yang wrapped his arms around her from behind. Resting his chin lightly on her shoulder, Rieshu smiled. "I was thinking how lucky we are to have adapted to the new environment so quickly." Cheng Yang kissed the tip of her hair. "It's not luck. It's our choice. By the way, my cousin mentioned today that an important client wants to meet you. They're very interested in your design style." "Oh, when?" 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Cheng Yang glanced at his watch. "Let's go eat first. I've reserved a table at that Sichuan restaurant you like." The next morning, Rieshu carefully prepared her portfolio and arrived at the studio early. Mr. Lin, Cheng Yang's cousin, was already waiting in the conference room. "Designer Chen, come meet Mr. Xiao, a renowned real estate developer." Mr. Lin introduced warmly. Rieshu extended her hand but froze the moment she saw the man's face. Standing before her was none other than Rohan. "Long time no see, Ria Lin." Rohan smiled as if they were just old friends reuniting after a long separation. President Lin looked at the two in surprise. "You know each other, old friends," Rohan said casually. Though his gaze remained fixed on Rieshu, Rieshu forced herself to stay composed. "President Lin, I apologize, but I just remembered an urgent matter I need to attend to. Could we reschedule this meeting?" Before President Lin could respond, Rohan said, "Don't be like this, Ria Lin. We need to talk, don't we?" "There's nothing for us to talk about," Rieshu said coldly. "Aren't you already married to you? Wishing you both happiness." Rohan's expression froze. "You knew, of course. Do you called me personally to tell me?" Rieshu said sarcastically. "So, please stop bothering me." President Lin noticed the awkward atmosphere and tactfully said, I'll step out to take a call." Only Rieshu and Rohan remained in the meeting room, the air seemingly frozen. "Why did you come to S City?" Rieshu broke the silence. "Shouldn't you be on your honeymoon with your new wife?" Rohan's gaze was complicated. "I didn't marry, do you?" Rieshu froze. "What? The wedding is cancelled," Rohan said calmly. "The day before the ceremony, I took a paternity test. The child in Yu's belly isn't mine." Rieshu was speechless. This was a plot twist that hadn't happened in her previous life, so she maintained her composure. "What does this have to do with me?" Rohan stared at her. "When I discovered Yu had deceived me, I suddenly understood many things. She had been sowing discord between us from the very beginning of our marriage." "Ridiculous," Rieshu sneered. "Our marriage failed because of issues between the two of us. Don't shift the blame." Rohan fell silent for a moment. "You're right, I've thought a lot. About our marriage, about my mistakes. Ria Lin, I came to apologize." Rieshu looked at him in surprise. "Apologize?" "Yes." Rohan's voice was uncharacteristically sincere. "I owe you an apology. I was too arrogant and never considered your feelings. When you told me about your pregnancy, I should have supported you instead of questioning and blaming you." These words caught Rieshu off guard. In their past life, Rohan had never admitted his mistakes, let alone apologized. "It's meaningless to say these things now," Rieshu said calmly. "We're over. I've moved on with my life, and you should too." Rohan shook his head. "I can't just give up like this, Ria Lin. Give me a chance to win you back." "What?" Rieshu could hardly believe her ears. "Are you crazy? I'm already with Cheng Yang. That doctor." A flicker of jealousy flashed in Rohan's eyes. "Do you think he can make you happy? Much better than you." Rieshu retorted bluntly. "Cheng Yang respects me, understands me, and never tries to control me. These are things you've never given me." Rohan fell silent for a moment before sighing. "You've really changed, Ria Lin. The old you would never have contradicted me so directly. That's because the old me was too foolish, too weak," Rieshu said coldly. "Rohan, I don't know why you've suddenly changed your attitude, but it doesn't matter anymore. Please leave S City and stop disturbing my life." Rohan stood up. "I won't give up. I'll prove to you that I truly want to make up for my past mistakes. Suit yourself." Rieshu sneered. "But don't expect any response from me." After Rohan left, President Lin walked in with an apologetic expression. "Designer Chen, I'm truly sorry. I didn't know there was such history between you two. It's all right, President Lin." Rieshu forced a smile. But if he comes again in the future, please just turn him away directly. Back at home, Rieshu told Cheng Yang about her encounter with Rohan. He actually chased you all the way to S City. Cheng Yang frowned. Should I go talk to him? Rieshu shook her head. No need, that would only complicate things further. I know Rohan. He won't give up easily. Cheng Yang held her hand. Then what should we do? Wait and see, Rieshu said calmly. He'll eventually realize it's futile. However, Rohan's actions were far swifter and more resolute than Rieshu had anticipated. The next day, Rieshu received a bouquet of flowers on her way to work, with a card that read, "Apologies for past foolishness." Rohan. Over the following week, different gifts arrived daily at the studio. One day it was her favorite chocolates, another day a design book she'd once mentioned wanting, and yet another day a limited edition CD from her college collection. How on earth does he remember all this? Rieshu complained to Cheng Yang. He couldn't even remember my birthday when we got married. Cheng Yang smiled bitterly. Seems like he's determined to win you back. Impossible, Rieshu said firmly. Those memories are dead, just like the former Ria Lin. On the 10th day, Rohan showed up at the studio directly, demanding a private conversation with Rieshu. What exactly are you trying to do? Rieshu asked impatiently. Rohan handed her a file folder. I had someone investigate, do you? All these years. She's been secretly sabotaging our relationship. Rieshu opened the folder to find a series of evidence. Do you intercepting her letters, spreading rumors about her to Rohan, even hiring someone to follow her after she left Beicheng. This can't be true. Rieshu flipped through the documents in shock. I couldn't believe it at first either. Rohan's expression was complicated. But when I found out the child you was carrying wasn't mine, I started doubting everything about her. So I hired a private investigator. Rieshu calmed down. Even so, this is only part of our marital problems. The root cause is that you never truly loved me, Rohan. No. I did love you, Rohan said earnestly. I just didn't know how to express it, didn't know how to cherish it. It wasn't until I lost you that I realized this. Such an admission made Rieshu somewhat dazed. The Rohan from her past life had never been this candid before. It's too late, Rieshu shook her head. I'm no longer that Ria Lin. Rohan gazed at her. If I could do it all over again, I would cherish you properly. Rieshu's heart trembled. Do it all over again. Wasn't that exactly what she had experienced? Only this time, she had chosen a completely different path. We don't get a second chance, Rieshu said calmly. You need to let go, Rohan. Rohan gave her a deep look. Give me 3 months. If after 3 months you still insist on this decision, I will leave your world forever. Rieshu thought for a moment, then nodded in agreement. 3 months. No more. In the days that followed, Rohan completely changed from his usual controlling ways. He no longer pestered Rieshu, but instead demonstrated his transformation through small gestures. He rented an apartment in City S, began investing in local real estate projects, and frequently visited the studio as a client, yet never intruded on Rieshu's private life. Cheng Yang remained remarkably calm and understanding about the situation. You two share a past and emotional entanglements. That's only natural. I believe you'll make the choice that's best for you. This respect and trust made Rieshu even more certain of her decision. Rohan might have changed, but Cheng Yang had been the one who understood and supported her from the very beginning. One weekend 2 months later, Rohan invited Rieshu to dinner, saying he had something important to discuss. Give me 1 more month, and I'll fulfill my promise. Rohan got straight to the point in the restaurant. But before that, I'd like you to see something. He pulled out a hospital examination report. This is an evaluation of the complications from your surgery at that unlicensed clinic in Haicheng. I consulted the best specialists for analysis. And the conclusion is, you may never be able to conceive again. Rieshu shuddered, nearly dropping the cup in her hand. What? That infection harmed you more than you realized, Rohan said gravely, but there's a specialist in North City. He's very experienced in this field. He might be able to help. Rieshu fell silent for a long moment, struggling to steady her emotions. Why are you telling me this? Rohan met her gaze directly. Because I want you to be happy. Whether you choose me or not, you deserve to know this and plan for your future. At this moment, Rieshu felt the sincerity in Rohan. In their past life, he had never cared for her like this. Upon returning home, Cheng Yang seemed to notice the change in her mood. What happened? Rieshu told him about the medical report. After carefully reading the report, Cheng Yang reassured her. Don't worry, nothing is absolute in medicine. I can help you contact a few expert friends to see if there are other treatment options. Thank you, Cheng Yang. Rieshu leaned on his shoulder. You always support me like this. Cheng Yang gently stroked her hair. Because I love you, Rieshu. No matter what happens, I'll always be by your side. The next day, Rieshu went to the hospital alone for a comprehensive checkup. The results confirmed what Rohan had said. Her fertility had indeed been severely compromised. Faced with this harsh reality, Rieshu fell into deep self-blame and confusion. If she hadn't chosen that shady clinic back then, if she hadn't been so determined to sever all ties with her past, perhaps the outcome would have been different. That evening, Cheng Yang returned with a stack of documents. I've contacted several specialists who are willing to consult on your case, and even if the worst happens, we still have other options. Adoption, or IVF. Rieshu was moved to tears. Are you really sure about this? Being with me might mean not having children of our own. Cheng Yang looked at her firmly. I love you for who you are, not for your ability to give me children. The meaning of family lies in love and companionship, not blood ties. At that moment, Rieshu finally understood what true love was. The specialist hospital in North City was far more impressive than Rieshu had anticipated. Rohan personally accompanied her there and arranged for the best team of specialists. Don't worry, this is the nation's top reproductive medicine center. Rohan reassured her outside the operating room. They'll do everything they can to help you. Rieshu nodded, though her feelings were mixed. She hadn't wanted to accept Rohan's help, but Cheng Yang had persuaded her. This concerns your health and future, Cheng Yang said. If Rohan can help, why refuse? It was this tolerance and understanding that strengthened Rieshu's resolve in her decision. The surgery lasted 4 hours, twice as long as anticipated. When Rieshu was wheeled out of the operating room, both Rohan and Cheng Yang stood up nervously. The surgery was successful, the lead surgeon said with a smile. Although the damage was indeed severe, we've repaired most of the injuries. As for whether full reproductive function can be restored, that will require further observation over time. Thank you, Doctor, Cheng Yang said sincerely as he shook the doctor's hand. Rohan stood aside, watching the two of them with a complicated gaze. During her recovery, Rieshu stayed at a luxury hotel in North City. Cheng Yang couldn't always be by her side due to work commitments, while Rohan visited her every day, bringing various nutritional supplements and fruits. There's no need for this, Rohan, Rieshu said wearily. I know you're trying to make amends, but it won't change anything. Rohan smiled bitterly. I know, the 3-month deadline is almost up. I just want to do as much as I can for you before I leave. Rieshu looked at his haggard face and couldn't help but feel moved. This once proud and domineering man had now become so humble for her. Rohan, let's talk, Rieshu said seriously. I want to know why you've suddenly become so unlike yourself. Rohan was silent for a moment before speaking slowly. Because I finally understand the pain of loss. After you left, I realized how much I depended on your presence. You always silently endured my indifference and control without complaint, and I foolishly took it for granted. It wasn't until Yu's deception woke me up that I realized how foolish I had been. I don't know if there's still a chance to make amends, but I have to try. Rieshu gazed at the sunlight outside the window and said softly, if it were a past life, perhaps I would have been deeply moved by your confession. But now, I am no longer that Lin who humbly begged for love. Past life. Rohan looked at her in confusion. Rieshu realized she had slipped up and quickly covered it up. I meant, if it were the old me. Rohan nodded. I understand. You've found a better place to belong, and I should be happy for you. Watching his dejected figure walk away, Rieshu suddenly realized that perhaps Rohan in this lifetime had truly changed. But this change came too late. She had already made a new choice. The next day, Cheng Yang returned to Beicheng ahead of schedule, bringing a surprise. He had secured a training opportunity at a renowned hospital abroad and could take Rieshu with him. This is a great chance for a fresh start, Cheng Yang said excitedly. Their reproductive medicine center is also very reputable, so you can continue your treatment there. Rieshu was overjoyed. Really, when do we leave? 3 months later, Cheng Yang said, I need to handle the work handover here first. Just then, Rohan walked in with some fruit. Seeing Cheng Yang, he nodded slightly with some awkwardness. I heard about your plans. Rohan forced a smile. Congratulations to you both. Cheng Yang extended his hand generously. Thank you for taking care of Rieshu during this time. Rohan grasped his hand, a flicker of complexity flashing in his eyes. She deserves the best. Rieshu watched the peculiar reconciliation between the two men, feeling both moved and reflective. That evening, Rohan arranged to meet Rieshu at the hotel restaurant, saying he intended to fulfill his promise. The 3-month deadline has arrived. Rohan handed her an envelope. This is my final gift. Rieshu opened the envelope to find a formal apology letter inside, along with a notarized pledge promising he would permanently exit her life and never interfere with her decisions again. You know, Rohan smiled bitterly, if I had respected and understood you like Cheng Yang did back then, perhaps we wouldn't have ended up like this. Rieshu said softly, every relationship has its purpose. Thank you for your efforts during this time, Rohan. I hope you find true happiness too. A flicker of pain flashed through Rohan's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. I will. Goodbye, Lin. Wishing you happiness. Watching his retreating figure, Rieshu knew that this time, it was a real farewell. Back in the hotel room, Rieshu told Cheng Yang everything. Will you still think of him? Cheng Yang asked softly. Rieshu leaned on his shoulder. Maybe occasionally. After all, he was an important part of my life, for better or worse, but that's just a memory. And you? Cheng Yang, you are my present and future. Cheng Yang held her tightly. I love you, Rieshu, no matter what your name is, no matter what your past holds, I love you. In his warm embrace, Rieshu finally felt true security and happiness. At this moment, she knew her rebirth had not been in vain. She had found someone truly worthy of entrusting her life to. 3 months later, Rieshu and Cheng Yang prepared to depart for abroad. Before their journey, Ju Li specially came from Beicheng to see them off. I heard Rohan retired early, handed the company over to his younger brother, and went traveling around the world, Ju Li told Rieshu. He's changed a lot. He's not the cold and selfish Rohan anymore. Rieshu smiled faintly. Everyone has the potential to change. I hope he can find his own happiness. In the airport terminal, Cheng Yang held Rieshu's hand, ready to start our new life. Rieshu nodded, her eyes sparkling with happiness. As long as I'm with you, no matter where we go, it's the beginning of happiness. As the plane slowly took off, Rieshu gazed through the window at the gradually receding city. At this very moment, she truly understood the meaning of rebirth. Not for revenge, not to make amends, but to find the happiness that truly belonged to her. 5 years later, in a tranquil coastal town, Mommy, look what I drew. A little girl of about 4 years old ran over excitedly, holding up a piece of drawing paper. Rieshu crouched down and took her daughter's masterpiece. Wow, Xiaoye, you drew this so well. Is this our family? The little girl nodded proudly, pointing at the figures in the drawing. This is Daddy, this is you, this is me, and this is little brother. So beautiful. Rieshu kissed her daughter's forehead. Shall we hang it on the wall? Great, Xiaoye cheered with joy. Cheng Yang walked out of the kitchen holding a cup of coffee. Our little artist has created another masterpiece. Of course, Rieshu said with a smile. She inherited her mother's design talent. Cheng Yang wrapped his arm around his wife's shoulders and looked at her tenderly. Whether biological or adopted, they are equally outstanding. Yes, Xiaoye was the girl they adopted from an orphanage 2 years ago. Despite undergoing numerous treatments, Rieshu's fertility never fully recovered. Eventually, they decided to adopt a child and give her all the love and care she deserved. After returning to China, Rieshu and Cheng Yang chose to settle in this quiet coastal town far from the hustle and bustle. Rieshu opened a small design studio, while Cheng Yang worked at a local hospital. The peaceful and fulfilling life was exactly what they had longed for. By the way, Cheng Yang suddenly remembered something. Did you receive Julie's email? She said she's coming to visit us next month. Rieshu nodded. Got it. She said she's bringing her fiancé along. Heard he's a decent guy. That's good. Cheng Yang checked the time. I need to head to the hospital now. There's an important consultation today. After seeing off Cheng Yang and little Yu, who had already started kindergarten, Rieshu returned to her studio to work on the latest design project. Just as she was deeply focused, the doorbell suddenly rang. Hello, are you MS? Rieshu, a uniformed courier stood at the door. Rieshu nodded. It's me. This is your package. Please sign for it. Rieshu took the package and was puzzled to find no sender information on it. Upon opening it, she was surprised to discover a hardcover art book inside. with one of her design works from years ago featured on the cover. Turning to the first page, a note caught her eye. "I heard you adopted a daughter. Congratulations. This is a collection of all your design works over the years. I hope to give it to your child someday, so she can be proud of having such an exceptional mother. Wishing you all the best, KZ, KZ," the initials of Rohan's English name. Rieshu stared blankly at the exquisite portfolio, a wave of complex emotions surging within her. 5 years had passed since their farewell in Beicheng, and they had never met again. Occasionally, she would hear news about him from Ju Li. After traveling the world, he had truly stepped back from the spotlight, focusing on charity work and supporting children who had lost their parents. Rieshu gently closed the portfolio and placed it on the bookshelf. Memories of the past flooded in like a tide, but they no longer brought any pain. In the afternoon, Rieshu went to the kindergarten to pick up Xiaoye. The little girl ran over excitedly as soon as she saw her mother. "Mommy, today an uncle donated lots of new toys and books to us. The principal said he's a really good man." "Really?" Rieshu smiled and took her daughter's hand. "Then remember to thank this kind uncle." "I already did," Xiaoye said proudly. "He said I'm very cute and even patted my head." Rieshu's heart skipped a beat. What did this uncle look like? Tall and handsome. Little Yu blinked her big eyes, but he looked a bit sad, so I gave him a little flower, and then he smiled. Rieshu's heart suddenly tightened. She looked around, as if searching for that familiar figure, but outside the kindergarten, there were only parents coming to pick up their children. On the way home, Little Yu suddenly pulled a business card from her pocket. "Oh, that uncle asked me to give this to you. He said you're old friends." Rieshu took the card, on which was only a single line, "Wishing you all the best, KZ." At this moment, Rieshu realized that Rohan hadn't completely left her world. In his own way, he was silently watching over her and her family. In the evening, after Cheng Yang returned, Rieshu told him about the matter. "Do you want to see him?" Cheng Yang asked calmly. Rieshu shook her head. "No need, we each have our own lives now, but I truly appreciate his blessings." Cheng Yang hugged her and said, "You know what, sometimes I'm even a little grateful to him. If it weren't for his mistake that made you leave Beicheng, we might never have met." Rieshu leaned on her husband's shoulder and smiled softly. "I guess that's just how fate works." Early the next morning, Rieshu came to the beach alone, standing on the soft sand as she watched the sunrise slowly emerge from the horizon. The desperate, broken Lin from 5 years ago had now completely transformed into a strong and happy Rieshu. She took a deep breath of the salty sea breeze, her heart filled with emotion. Rebirth had given her a second chance, the courage to break free from the shadows of the past and pursue the happiness that truly belonged to her. On her way home, Rieshu passed by a cafe. Through the window, she spotted a familiar figure sitting alone in the corner. In that moment, she hesitated. Ultimately, she pushed open the door. "Long time no see, Rohan." The man turned his head, his initial surprise quickly melting into a calm smile. "Long time no see, Lin." They sat facing each other, momentarily speechless. 5 years had left their marks on both their faces, yet their eyes seemed clearer than ever before. "Thank you for the picture book. And for the donation to the kindergarten." Rieshu was the first to break the silence. Rohan nodded slightly. "Just a small thing. Your daughter is very lovely and well behaved." "Yes, she's our pride," Rieshu said softly. "I heard you've been doing a lot of charity work these years. It's a kind of atonement." Rohan's gaze drifted away. "Helping those homeless children gives me a sense of redemption." Rieshu gazed at him. "You've changed a lot. People always grow up." Rohan replied with the words she once said, then asked softly, "Are you happy?" "Very happy," Rieshu answered without hesitation. "Cheng Yang is a good husband, and Xiaoye is a lovely daughter. Our life is peaceful and fulfilling." A flicker of relief passed through Rohan's eyes. "That's good. I've always hoped you could find true happiness." They chatted for a while longer, mostly about trivial matters. As they were about to part, Rohan handed her a small box, a gift for Xiaoye. He said, "I'll be leaving here tomorrow and probably won't return to the country for a long time." Rieshu accepted the gift. "Thank you. I wish you all the best." "You too." Rohan gave her a deep look. "Goodbye, Rieshu." This time, he called her by her new name, as if truly accepting her new identity and new life. Stepping out of the cafe, Rieshu felt an unprecedented sense of relief. The shadows of the past had finally completely dissipated. leaving only anticipation for the future and appreciation for the present. Returning home, Cheng Yang and Xiaoye were playing in the yard. Seeing his wife return, Cheng Yang smiled and approached. "Back from your walk, we were just about to head to the beach." Rieshu handed the gift to Xiaoye. "This is from a kind uncle for you." Xiaoye cheered as she unwrapped the gift, a delicate music box. When opened, melodious music played, and a pair of small figurines spun inside. "It sounds so beautiful," Xiaoye exclaimed in delight. Rieshu smiled as she watched her daughter's joyful face, her heart filled with happiness. All the past, whether pain or regret, had become history. What mattered now was the present, this loving family before her eyes. Ready to go, Cheng Yang took her hand and asked with a smile. Rieshu nodded, tightly holding her husband's hand. "Of course, let's go together." As the sun set in the west, the figures of the family of three gradually faded into the distance on the beach. Rieshu looked back at the small town that had brought her a new life, her heart filled with emotion and gratitude. Given a second chance at life, she had finally found true happiness.